Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke. Welcome back to everyone who's already a subscriber to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. Always great to have a first-time guest on the show. This first-time guest is not only a first-time guest on the show, he's an undefeated pro MMA fighter with a record of 2-0. He's in fight week right now. He's 5 days away from a pro fight for 247 Fighting Championships Brawl in the Burgh 23, which is going down September 21st at the Monroeville Convention Center. Super, super exciting fight on an already exciting card. It's my honor to welcome Hunter Walt to the show. Hunter, welcome on.
Thank you, man. How you doing? Appreciate you having me on here.
I'm doing very well. It's great living in Steeler country to have a Watt on the show. Even if you're maybe not that Watt, it's still great to have you on the show. Maybe I should title a clickbait title. Watt joins the show to talk Steelers. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you. But so we're a week away, and before we jump into the fact that you're in fight week, and I really respect your time for coming on the show when when you're going to be fighting in Monroeville Saturday. Let's back up a little bit. Kind of summarize what got you in to training, in your amateur days. What kicked you off in amateur MMA to start training to then take your first amateur fight that then build up to your undefeated 2-0 pro record as we sit now?
So, I started wrestling when I was 5. So the whole combat sports thing has just it's what I've done my whole life, and I love it. And I love competing. I graduated high school. I had a couple college offers to go wrestle places, but college ain't never going to be my style. I'm not going to be a school type of person. So I just opted out. I'm going to go work. I'm going to go do my thing. I'm not going to go to college. Took a year or so off. Felt like I was really missing something. And I'm like, man, I really want to get back in some type of competition. I want to compete. I want to do something. And I'd always found MMA interesting. So I'm like, you know what? Let me give this a try. I mean, I've wrestled, so I'll probably be halfway decent at it. So let's give it a whirl. And a buddy of mine knows Andrew, my coach, and I had not been introduced yet. I didn't know Andrew existed. I was like, man, I'm just trying to find a place I can go do this. My buddy goes, hey, go check out Route 250 down here. I know the coach. He's a good dude, real good guy. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I went down there, checked it out, and I've been there more often than not almost every day since.
And what was it like? What do you remember? You're going in to a gym as a wrestler, which is a great base, obviously, for MMA. You ended up having a really good amateur career prior to going pro. But did you remember maybe a moment in kickboxing, sparring, boxing, anything, jiu-jitsu, anything outside of wrestling that was kind of a welcome to MMA moment, or was it really kind of a smooth adjustment?
I don't think there was any singular moment. It was honestly just spending the first few months coming in, like you said, like we talked about, I know how to wrestle. Obviously, I get that part. So it was me taking a second to think, no, this isn't just wrestling. This is a whole nother sport. So I need to sit, basically break down and work at this like I know absolutely nothing, because I didn't. MMA is totally different. You could be a phenomenal wrestler and doesn't always pan out well. It'll work in your favor a lot of time, and it helps a lot. Don't get me wrong, but MMA isn't wrestling. It is two different sports, two different styles, two different rules. That there's a definite learning curve from trying to go from one to the other. So like it was just taking that time the first 6-8 months. I just let myself break down, get beat up, realize I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I got to really sit here and focus and make an attempt to learn this.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The mindset for people that watch this, I always try to say that not only are they interesting interviews, but I think the mindset, the mentality, the psychology of an athlete and
Hmm.
then also an MMA fighter goes a long way. So I appreciate you sharing that. Now, it's going to be hard to kind of summarize your very good amateur career, but I'll give sort of the highlights. 8-1 as an amateur fighter before you went pro. You only had one loss to a guy who was at that point 7-2 and now is 3-1 as a pro, CJ Brandt. You took out guys that were 5-0, 5-1, 4-0, 3-0. So for people 5-3, so people don't know, you had a very challenging. You purposely
Hmm.
challenged yourself in amateur. So how would you summarize your amateur career? 8-1 is 8-1 is such a high level before you went pro. Like, what were you looking to develop in your amateur? You fought amateur from April 20th of 2019, and then several years, obviously COVID in there, until
Hmm.
August of 2023. So what were you looking for in your amateur? Kind of summarize that.
So originally, actually, Ohio has a very had with the new commissioner. The rules are a little bit different, but when I had first started, the rule set to turn pro in the state of Ohio is you had to have 9 amateur fights at least. Minus the fact that you had to have a winning record, so on and so forth, and all these extra little things. But the 9 fights is a big one. So I didn't want to turn around and go turn pro in PA, turn pro in Kentucky, because I got asked if I wanted to when I was down running with B2, traveling to Kentucky and stuff every couple months. They were asking me like, "Yo, when are you gonna turn pro? This, that, and the other. You want to do it for us?" And I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm a wait. Let me get at least the criteria that Ohio required at the time. And then the biggest, most important thing was I didn't want to turn pro until my coach thought I was ready. Because, I mean, turning pro is a really big step. Pro fighting is a whole different world than amateur fighting. If you turn pro too early, you can basically, and for a lack of a better way to say it, ruin your career, ruin your chances of doing well just because you went too early and it shocked you and you end up shitting the bed on. So I wanted to make sure that not only did I feel ready, that my coach and my people that are teaching and working with me to improve myself, I want to make sure they thought I was ready. But
Yeah,
I mean,
that's that humble mindset and knowing that um, I think it's good for fighters, any athlete, particularly fighters, to be excited, to have confidence, to be willing to jump in there. But that's where coaching comes in. That's where good coaching comes in
mhm.
to say, hey, we're going to keep developing these skills. Some of your fights went so well that it sometimes can be hard to see room for improvement, but that's kind of up to your coaches. Now that you're pro, and I
Mhm.
see that you fought, you had mentioned B2, you fought a couple B2 fighting series, a bunch of Cage Thunder fighting, and then obviously your two pros were Cage Thunder. We're about ready to transition into 247 Fighting Championship. Can't wait to talk about that fight. As I previewed, obviously coming up this Saturday. But
Mhm.
what was it like going pro? That was December 16th of 2023. So you're going to have, of course, there was a couple canceled fights, but if everything goes well with weigh-in between you and Geno this Friday, and then you fight Saturday, you're going to have three pro fights within a year of each other because you went pro December 16th, 2023. And so walk us through that. You ended up winning, they say, by retirement at the end of round one, which typically means the person did not actually come back out after round one. So kind
Yep.
of walk us through that. What was it like on your side to take on Logan Thompson for your pro debut?
It was cool. It was a real good experience. I I can't complain about how it ended. I mean, obviously I won, and I won in a way that not a whole lot of people get to. But I'm still mad about that fight. I wanted to fight more.
Sure.
Like I wanted to keep going. I was really looking forward to going that at least starting that second round. But it is what it is. I'm happy about it. I'm glad I got the experience. I'm fortunate that I've been able to stay healthy enough and be available to take as many fights as I have in this past year. And if I'm lucky and things go well, we'll see. I don't know. I got to fight this Saturday. I'm not making no plans past that
Sure.
point to then. But, maybe I get one more in this year. Who knows? But
Well, that's a great mindset to have. Thanks for your feedback on the Logan fight. Obviously, started off a great start to your career, even if you did want to fight a little bit more. Now, let's
mhm.
talk about your Melvin Harris fight. You came into that 1-0, great amateur record. He's 2-1, so kind of getting back, which you should be getting back to your amateur mindset, which is fight guys with better records, bigger records. I mean, that's how you
Yeah.
progress. You got a decision. And for a wrestler and somebody that wanted to get kind of more cage experience, how good did you feel about going all 15 minutes, get a decision, and kind of, getting past that first round? Well, first round finishes are great, sort of
Mhm.
going the whole fight.
It was a great experience. I'm glad I got to do it because I'm not gonna lie, 15 minutes of fighting is different. I had a couple amateur titles. They were 5 3-minute rounds, which yeah, that's 15 minutes, but it's a different 15 minutes. 5 minute rounds are just another world, and I'm real happy that I got the opportunity to go all 3 rounds, and it whipped my ass. I was so tired. I've never been that tired in my life, but I'm happy. I loved it. Melvin was a phenomenal opponent to have in that situation. Just tough dude fighting all the way up until the end, and I couldn't ask for a better circumstance and outcome from that.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to have. 15 minutes of fighting is such a high level. I mean, there was many years at the UFC level where they never went past 15. Well, okay, the beginning
Hmm.
unlimited stuff, but once it was more more like what we think of today, a lot of championship fights I saw were, 15-minute fights, and then of course they extended it to 25. But
Hmm.
going 15 minutes is such high level. Great hat tip to Melvin. Obviously, we wish both of your opponents. I've had a great career. I've had a lot of fighters, and I think it's a good attitude to have when it comes, particularly to the one-on-one nature of MMA, which is when you beat somebody, you want them to have a great career from them. One, because you've shared the
Hmm.
cage, you have that connection, but also the better they do in their career, the better your record looks, right? If somebody looks back and sees Melvin Harris and he goes on and has a good career, well, then that's great for you. And flip
Right.
it, in the case when somebody loses, like you had picked up one in your amateur, and I mentioned CJ Brandt's pro record. He's now 3-1. I mean, he's a good pro, and so
Hmm.
you kind of want somebody that beats you to have a good career, so that it kind of makes that loss look kind of understandable. So I
Hmm.
think that's sort of why I think sometimes people don't realize with some of the UFC talk and stuff, not all the time, but most of the time, there is a camaraderie. And I think that's the reason, because win or lose, there's a reason to wish the other opponent to do well. Now that we're talking about opponents, let's get to your opponent just this week, Saturday. You're going to be fighting Geno Morelli, and he's coming in from Texas, or at least Tapology says that he fights out of Texas. You're from Ohio. So what put this fight together? And is this sort of a hometown fight in a sense? Like, how far away from Roseville are you in Ohio? And is this kind of your backyard, so to speak, compared to Geno? And then we'll get to your thoughts on Geno.
So actually, Gino's the hometown guy here. He
Shows
wrestled at
what
Penn
I
State.
know. Shows what
He
that's why
wrestled,
I asked the
yeah,
questions. Okay,
yeah.
fill me in.
He
Thank you.
he wrestled at Penn State. He wrestled at Pitt. He trains with a lot of guys who spend a whole lot of time there in Pittsburgh and live and from the area and all the wrestling and everything from there. So he's the hometown hero in this one. I'm that podunk dude coming in from out of town, and I mean it's about 2 hours, 2 hour drive from where I live at, where I train at to get to Monroeville. But even then, it could be 10, 12. I'm gonna feel like a complete alien in that joint. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I forget what was the rest of the question.
No, no, you answered it. You already answered it. As far as
All right.
I assumed you being from Ohio that Texas was
Yeah.
far away, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. That's why the matchmakers at 247, the owner Ryan Milton
Hmm.
and Hunter Hamistek as the GM, they have to figure those things out. Like if Gino's a hometown guy, that makes sense. They went out and bringing you in from 2 hours away. One of the pro things that you will be doing a lot, and of course pros do it at the UFC level, is sometimes you fight in your hometown area. We all know GSP fought in
Hmm.
Canada because he would sell it out. But at the same time, you will also end up fighting around the world anywhere because it's a sport
Hmm.
where your talents need to be transferable. We all know Cain Velasquez, having a poor performance at elevation in I think it was Mexico, sort of, you've got to be able to fight well anywhere. So what are your mindsets? What are your thoughts about coming into enemy territory now that I got clarification? And you said it's going to feel alien because it's away from what you know. 247, I'm biased, of course, but 247 is a spectacular regional promotion. I think you'll really like the professional and the quality and all that. But what are your thoughts on kind of this being a new scene to you and going up against a hometown guy?
Uh, I always enjoy it. I enjoy being, the bad guy, the one that people are kind of hoping loses, because it's just it's fun. Granted, I'm getting to the point where it doesn't matter where I go, somebody's gonna know who I am. I'm gonna have people there cheering for me, but I mean, walking out from the back to a crowd that is just dead silent, it's kind of fun. Like, yeah, all right, y'all gonna be quiet and hate me right now. Wait till after this fight, I'm have all you cheering. All you gonna be on your feet, all you gonna love me, know who I am. So like it's cool to do that. And then but like I would say I haven't fought for 247 before, but I have a teammate who has. I've been to a few of their promotions, few of their cars, and I love the show. I think they do a phenomenal job. So I'm very happy to get the chance and the opportunity to fight for them. So we'll see how it goes, and it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah, well, you're great at almost interviewing yourself because my follow-up question was going to be, have you been to a 247 event now that they're on 23 and that's just the ones
Mm-hmm.
located in the Pittsburgh area? They've done a couple others outside of the Pittsburgh area, but that Brawl in the Burgh is just the Pittsburgh area. So really great. Who was the gym member that fought for 247?
Brogan Andres, he's actually also fighting with
Rogan,
me this
he's back.
Saturday
Yeah,
again.
yeah. He's fought as an amateur and now as a pro, and he's back on the card as a pro. So that means you could have been at the most recent event since Rogan just fought at the last event, I believe. So
Yeah, I was there when he choked a man to sleep.
indeed, he did, and I was safely on the other side of that cage, right there up against the cage, just watching it going. I mean, it is pretty cool to be cage side of an MMA fight, that's for sure. Yeah, that's great. So you guys, to my understanding, are both at the same weight class, 170.
Yes.
So what's it like? Is what's it like competing or training against each other in the gym being both pros? He's might have had one or two more fights in his pro career, but you guys are both early in your pro career building up.
Hmm.
He had a longer amateur career as well. I remember him fighting.
Hmm.
Um, years ago for us. So, kind of what's that relationship like, and what's the training like between you and Brogan?
Brogan's one of my best friends and best training partners I can have there. But also, we have three pro 170s. There's myself, who's the newest, Brogan, who's next to me, and then our coach, Andrew Law. He's been in this sport for a long time. We're all at 170. We all still fight 170. So having all of the like having other people my weight and who have been around longer, know more, and have more experience and have been doing this kind of thing. It's great to have them around. I love training with them. We all there's a respect there. No one's we're not fighting every day. We're training. We're all trying to get better together. So there's no bad blood, no beef, nothing like that. It's just we get together, we train hard, we have a great time, and it's awesome. I love it. I'm glad I get the opportunity to be in a place like that.
Yeah, that's pretty special to have three active at the same weight. Obviously, huge gyms have a bunch of each weight class, but to be a small gym, to have them really be developmental in your journey, obviously, it's super exciting. I'm just quoting what 247 said on
Mhm.
Facebook from the promotion side, but I believe it's true that this is at 2-0. Your opponent Geno has two finishes as a pro. You have one finish and a dominant decision. So you guys are both looking great in your pro career, same record. That this is a matchup that has UFC implications in the sense that, not like if you win this fight, but in the sense that whoever wins the fight, this fight looks good on the resume. We've already talked about this. This fight will get more eyes. This fight will take the name of whoever loses, and 3, 4, 5 fights down the road, when the UFC is looking back over, or whatever, PFL, whatever, is looking back
Mhm.
over your resume, they look at this person's name, Geno's name, because of his record at the time and his name recognition. So it really does. And I think that was a great point that the promotion team put out on 247 Fighting Championships Facebook page that this does have implications because you guys are both that talented. That's a compliment to both of you. I
Mhm.
personally think that these are the type of fights that sell themselves because, you can only be undefeated. Both of you can only be undefeated coming in. So anytime there's two undefeated fighters, it always kind of ratchets that up. So I appreciate you giving that. Have you thought about kind of the value of you guys both being undefeated and whoever wins kind of their trajectory might look a little different than the person who doesn't get the win.
I mean, the thought has kind of crossed my mind, but that's never really been my concern. I mean, yes, what I love one day, I want to make it to the UFC. I want to make it to the PFL, one or the other. Whoever's going to pay me, contract me, it don't matter. I just want to fight for a living. I want to be the best I can, be one of the best people out there. I want everybody to know who I am. So the only way I can do that is to find other tough ass dudes with good records where they're going to be a good fight. And it's going to be a tough fight. And I'm going to go to war against these guys. I got to seek those guys out to fight them. Win, lose, or draw, whatever. I just want to fight tough dudes.
That's a great mindset to have. That would be a great slogan. I just want to fight tough dudes. So I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's
Of
fight
course, man.
week. You've got to cut ahead. You've got the fight, the weigh-in Friday, the fight at Monroeville Convention. Saturday for it sounds like being 2 hours away. If anybody's making the trip, hopefully they've already gotten tickets from you. If they haven't,
Mm-hmm.
247fighting.com for actual tickets to be in person. They need to give you credit, of course,
Of course.
at checkout. And if your group from home is going to be mainly doing pay-per-view, this is the time to remind them to download the app. 247 has its own app on all the app stores.
Mm-hmm.
It can also be used on any smart TV, and it's where you stream the best pay-per-view. So that's 247 Live app. And they can get that. And of course, when they buy the pay-per-view, to also give 100 watt credit goes a long way to you. So I always like to put a plug in at that at the end.
Appreciate that.
Hopefully, your supporters are watching this and excited about you, which I'm sure they are. So I can't wait to be cage side to see you in action. You're battling a fellow undefeated 2-0, 170-pound pro at the welterweight. So can't wait to see you. I really appreciate you coming on. You've been
Of course,
listening to
man.
Luke Mason, as always, for MMA Fancast with first-time guests on the show, Hunter Watt. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
Got it.